This is not the vlog I told Susie I would make. But look at this thing. Yes, it's just a finger wrapped in gauze, but once you hear the story, it's so much more than that. So I'm working on a Christmas craft for next Wednesday's program, and I have this method of binding the felt that we're using together that isn't gross glue, but it also looks really nice. But I need to make little holes in the felt in order to use the brads that I had purchased to bind it together. And so I'm like, no big deal, an X-Acto knife will do just that. And I have this little X-Acto knife. I do not know where I got it. I'm pretty sure I stole it from somebody that works in the library. And I'm like trying to use that, and I'm like essentially like holding it up and pulling the felt down over top of it. This is not where the story gets gross, don't worry. The X-Acto knife that I have is pretty rusty and kind of old, and while it works great to cut things like paper, it's not sharp enough to cut through a dense material like felt. I decide that I need a different solution and think to myself, you have that super sharp paring knife in your drawer that you bring to use to cut up apples and other things that require knife usage. And I only have one rule in my programs. No one's allowed to get hurt. This excludes me because I get hurt all the time. But the kids understand this, that they're not allowed to act in ways that could result in them getting injured. And because I don't want to be responsible for that, and they know that. And so it's like an understood rule that no one's allowed to get hurt. And whenever I get hurt, typically by slicing up my fingertips in a non-lethal manner, they always pull it out on me and say, no one's allowed to get hurt, Hannah. They sound like that. And I say, obviously, guys, this excludes me. I'm the leader. I'm the one that's in charge. So if I'm in charge myself, I can do whatever I want. So I am sitting at my desk, and I pull out this super sharp paring knife, and I make a hole, and it works really well. And then I go to make a second hole, and Steve walks over, and he's all like, look at this amazing piece of art. And I'm like, I don't get art, man. I don't care. And as I'm doing that, he did not distract me. I was never paying attention to him. As I'm doing that, the knife goes through the felt and over and around the side of my finger, and just blood. And I immediately hop up and I panic and I say, this is bad! This is bad! I'm gonna have to go to the hospital. This is so bad. This is the worst it's ever been. And I think I actually said the phrase, this is the worst it's ever been, because I cut myself so often at work that it's just like a common thing. And everyone that's in and around the office area just like hops too, because this may not have been the first time Hannah's been dramatically hurt at the library. And everyone's just so passive about it, except for one of my coworkers who I adore dearly, Wendy, had just gotten her first aid training, and she was standing there being like, I just got my first aid. I don't even know what to do. I love you, Wendy. LOL at you. So I'm kind of laughing because, as I mentioned, this is pretty classic Hannah, and I am, just kind of having a meltdown because I'm gonna have to go to the hospital. I'm gonna have to get stitches. I've never had stitches before. This is the worst injury I've ever occurred on myself. I have been in several car accidents. I have fallen down several flights of stairs, but I have never broken anything. Like, the most I've ever really done is a sprain, which just requires painkillers and rest, which, that's not an injury, that's a gift. So we're going to the hospital. My parents come after one of the other women that I work with calls them and talks to them literally on the phone like this. Oh, hey, it's Kathy at the library. Hannah's cut herself and needs to go to the hospital. Okay, yeah, you'll come in for her? All right, we'll see you soon. This is not the first time I've been hurt at work. So my parents come very confused, and I think that they're just like, this is so classic Hannah, but usually she falls and sprains something, or usually she crashes a car or two. I'm actually a very good driver. Most of the vehicle, and I'm actually a very good driver. This is a new injury. I could walk, I could talk, I was barely crying. It hurt, but it was manageable pain, except the fact that it was an open wound. So the receptionist, if she's a nurse, I just don't want to give her that qualification because she was so slow. like deliberately slow, because she hates me for being there. She hates me because I am bringing her business, and I'm sitting there bleeding, and I'm saying, I don't care if my contact information is up to date. Send me into triage. Finally, I get into triage. My nurse is super nice, super young, fresh, you know, and then she sends me into a waiting room, and my doctor comes, and my doctor is one of these, it's apparently a much more consistent thing than I was aware of, but he was in the Army, he was a mechanical engineer, and then there was this incentive program where you could get retraining or further training for a different, like, trade field, I guess, and he decided to go into medicine. So I'm sorry, you are a mechanical engineer and a doctor of medicine? That's just annoying. That's professionally annoying. Calm down. So he's talking me through this whole thing, and I'm trying to be very like, this is not a terrible injury. I will calmly and assertively handle this issue. And he's very much like, I've seen enough people to know that you're gonna freak out at some point, so just calm down. It's fine. I don't really care. So I lay down on the bed, and we're just, you know, chatting it up, and I'm, you know, trying to be funny, and then he starts directly dealing with the wound, and I lose my mind. I really realized, like, you need to calm down. This is not a bad injury. There are so many other people that, like, my friends have had multiple children, but this is the worst pain I've ever experienced. This is a 12 on my scale. And so I am screaming and sobbing, all the while never moving my hand, like just passively holding it out to the side, allowing him to cause this pain. And he's just like talking to me like you would talk to a little child as they threw up or something. Like, oh, you're doing great. You're just, you know, you're doing so good. I'm just so impressed. You're doing great. No, don't apologize. And I'm profusely apologizing because why am I freaking out like this? Why am I panicking so much? But he's shooting that numbing agent into an open wound. So the finger is frozen, the finger is numb, I cannot feel anything. And he's like, okay, so you're just gonna feel some like pushing and some pressure. And I was like, oh yeah, it's totally fine. And after this point, I screamed and sobbed for a full minute, maybe a minute and a half. And then I try to like pull back all the embarrassment of that. And I'm just like, so where did you do your training? What did you do in the Army? What was your role there? Did you like major in ER medicine? Because I think that's something people do. And he just keeps telling me I'm doing so great. And I'm like, no. You need to stop comforting me now, because I recognize that I was being a giant baby, and we need to move on. We need to move on from my behavior. And so we have this lovely conversation about his educational background, and I convince him that he needs to be more active at the library with his 3 children under 8. They've been here for like a year and a half and don't have library cards. I'm like, excuse me? The city is not so big that you can't make your way down to the library, or that you don't want to take your kids down to the library as an escape. I'm cool. The last 3 times I've been in the ER have been for ankle and leg injuries. So it was really nice to just be able to walk out and like hold my finger in the air and be like, what up? And ultimately come out with a phenomenal story about why on earth I have no sensation in the tip of my left index finger. I wish I had lost it. Could have been like Margaret Tenenbaum. This is such a lost opportunity. I'm really happy that all of you are watching this, because I'm sitting in my bedroom alone. Also, my bedroom. Look at Patty. It's Patty LaPone hanging out on my wall saying, hey guys, don't cry for me. I hope somebody gets that reference. Thank you for listening to my Outrageous Stitches story. Until next time, bye-bye. My weird pinky goes so far away from my hand.